Imagine this for a second. You walk into a room with 300 people. Everyone has a 740 GMAT. They went to LSE, Bocconi, McGill. They interned at Rothschild, McKinsey, BlackRock, Goldman Sachs. And you show up with a 650, a non-target degree, and a one-page CV that feels a bit light. You look around, you feel a little small. And you think, I don't belong here. I don't stand a chance. So you close the LBS HEC tab, you shelve the dream, and you move on. But let me ask you something. What if getting into top school was never about having the most impressive profile, but about having a complete current story? Because I was in that room myself. I walked in with a 650 and I got in. So, first things first, why you should listen to me. My name's Thomas. I got into LBS with a 650 GMAT, a 63% average at work, with a degree that was non-target. And today I'm the co-founder of MIMPrep. We help over 300 students get into top business school, 50 admits at LBS, almost 40 at HEC, over a dozen into HCL, the most selective dual degree program in Europe. So as I said, I studied modeling language and economics at work, so not pure economics. I graduated with 63%, not 75, no first class. I took the GMAT 3 times and I ended up with a 650, so I'm not talking about 720 or 740, just 650, but I still got into LBS. So today, I wanted to unpack in this video how I done that. And, because a lot of students ask me the question, is my profile good enough to apply to HEC and LBS? So part one, what I had wasn't, perfection, it was clarity. And here's the biggest trap I see. 70% of students falls into, I wanted to do consulting, then I want to do my own startup, or I want to do, investment banking, then I want to do private equity. And a lot of students sells a generalist pitch because they don't know themselves that much, and they want to play it safe, and they're trying to say what they think the business school wants to hear. But that's not what schools like LBS or HEC are actually looking for. So what works, and what works in my case, is answering super precisely these three questions: why you, why now, and why this school specifically, and why not another school. So I actually explained this in full details in one of my YouTube videos about the personal statement, where you can check that out if you want to go deeper into how to write your personal statement in details with real examples from 2 of our past successful students. And by the way, if you're applying this year, we actually built a full masterclass that breaks it down with template, examples, video, including successful essays from candidates with average GMAT scores who still got into top schools thanks to our a strong niche and structure. So if you want to ace your personal statement fast, see what actually worked the year prior, and understand how you can actually adapt your essay to the latest school recruiting policies, check it out. There's a free demo in the link in the description below. But let me bring it back to my own story. So I grew up in Versailles, a charming city just outside Paris, famous for being the former capital of France and attracting many Chinese tourists. And myself, I'm Franken Chinese. So my mom is from Shanghai, my dad is from France. And now in China, the main platform for literally everything, so messaging, paying, marketing, is WeChat. It's a bit of a mix between WhatsApp, PayPal, and Instagram, all in one app. And what happened is that back in 2020, before COVID hit, I started building WeChat accounts for French restaurants and pharmacies, basically helping them attract Chinese tourists by integrating WeChat Pay and setting up the official, WeChat profiles. And that was one of my first business. Nothing fancy, but just a simple problem, a clear cultural advantage, and a simple solution. And that became the foundation of my story that I sold to LBS. I come from a Franco-Chinese background, and honestly, for as long as I can remember, I've been fascinated by, the idea of bridging these two worlds. Growing up between, French and Chinese cultures, I saw both the, immense potential and the real complexity that comes with cross-border entrepreneurship. So, and to give you an idea, my mom ran a linen trading business back in the early 2000s. So basically, she would source linen from northern France and Belgium and sell it to textile companies in China. So even as a kid, I was joining her on business trip, and I was visiting factories, and I was witnessing firsthand the intricacies of international trade. So that experience sparked my entrepreneurial ambition early on, and it showed me not only the excitement of business, but also how valuable it could be to leverage the relationship between two countries. And in my case, it was, France and China. And, of course, there's a lot of details that I omit right now for the purpose of this video, but that's basically what I sold to LBS. At LBS, I found the ideal environment, to support this exact vision. So courses specifically designed around, entrepreneurship and international business strategy, precisely what I needed to, navigate diverse markets. Global alumni network filled with people who weren't just, successful, but were genuinely eager to support new ventures. And of course, the opportunity to live, learn, and launch my own ventures in London. That for me is the most cosmopolitan, vibrant, and internationally connected city in Europe for startup. So my application wasn't built around perfect GMAT score on exceptional grades. It was about fit, about clearly communicating my vision and demonstrating real momentum toward making it a reality. So yeah, for me, the personal statement and the personal story in general is really like win or lose in a lot of cases. And here's the part that, for me, nobody values enough, because they just say, okay, oh, I want to be a consultant, and I want to do entrepreneurship, or I just want to do private equity. I just want to do IB and then VC, and that's it. And they don't give too much details. They don't, link it to the specific background or to the specific story of the school or to what they want to do, 3 years or 6 years after graduation. So it's just something that they sell because they say, okay, I need to look serious. I need to look smart. I'm just going to put that. And this is the worst mistake you can do. And that's why, first of all, that's something that we do a lot with the agency, with MinPrep. But, this is something that should not be underestimated. Per application file, sometimes with the agency, with the high ticket offer that we have, we spend 60 hours on average on a student file. And yeah, this is one of the main leverage that you can use if you want to increase your application chances to a top-tier business school. So yeah, your personal statement is not just, some motivational letter. It's, your personal statement is really your pitch deck. It's where you prove that you are not a bet, but you are a calculated investment. And so again, here are, where most students wanted, they're writing an essay for school. There's a lot of students that come to us and they just say, okay, I studied economics, then I did an internship. No, I wanted to learn business, and that's why I'm applying to LBS or HEC. This is not a story. That's, we can go on your LinkedIn profile and the exact same information in a better format, and that's not what we want here. I always tell my students, if I can't copy paste your essay, change your name and submit it myself, it means that, your PS is super bad. Your story should be so tight, so specific, that only you could have written it. You see? And that's when the school sees your name and says, okay, let's bet on this one. You see what I mean? Let me be brutally honest with you. If you come to, HEC or LBS and you say, okay, I've got a 720 GMAT, summer internship at JP Morgan, and I want to do consulting, then, private equity. Okay, that's cool. Impressive. But, if you apply to HEC, most of the applicants, they come from target university, they have a first class, they have a super good GMAT, and they have super good internship. It's safe, it's polished, but to be super honest with you, it gets lost in the mist of all the applicants. Because, they read hundreds and hundreds of personal statements. But if you come in and you say something like, I know exactly why I wake up in the morning, I know what I want to build, I know my mission on this planet, and this program is the one tool that I need to get closer to it, and you actually mean it, now this is a different conversation. Because that kind of clarity, that's super rare. And school, they know it. You see what I mean? And even if your GPA isn't perfect, even if your GMAT is 40 points below the average of the cohort, you're gonna get the interview. Because you don't sound like someone chasing prestige, you sound like someone that is actually chasing purpose. And that's exactly what they want in a room. And let's talk about the GMAT real quick. You go on the website, you see, HEC average GMAT 710, and immediately you think, if I don't have a 710, I'm done. But that's not how it works. And this is something I tell my students all the time. That numbers is just an average. It's not a rule. The score you need heavily depends on your profile. So if you take applicants from India or China, for example, the reason they need a higher GMAT, like 730 or 740 even, isn't simply because the Indian or Chinese. It's because they're part of a massive applicant pool filled with a lot of talented students who often have very similar backgrounds. Think Indian engineers, Chinese economic students, etc. When everyone has a very similar story, the only way to stand out becomes having an exceptionally high GMAT. But if you're European, like Spanish, French, Italian, German, or even African, Moroccan, and your profile has something unique or atypical to offer, you can absolutely get into top schools, HEC, LBS, with score like 660 or 670. And here's why that's so crucial, and that you need to take this into account in your strategy when you apply to masters, because every year I see too many students that sees HEC 710 average, and they panic. They think the 660 isn't good enough, so they delay applying, or even worse, they don't even apply at all. But the reality is, applying in round 2 with a clear story and strong fit at 660 gives you better shot than waiting until round 3 with a slightly higher GMAT. So actually, if you want to know about the LBS round timing, I made a complete video on YouTube discussing it in details. If you want, you can check it out. So yeah, like I just want to conclude this video. For me, the most dangerous mindset is thinking that you're not made for it. Like this is something that annoys me the most. Is like hearing students says HEC, or LBS. Nah, that's not for me. I don't have a 690 GMAT. I'm not from some target uni. I know this super smart guy who got rejected. So if he didn't get in, I definitely won't. For me, this is a loser mindset. If you go to war already defeated, if you're not even convinced about the product you're trying to sell, which is you in that case, would you expect the admission committees to buy? They won't, because you didn't believe in it in the first place. You see what I mean? And here's what I tell every student we have on board. Yes, of course, the goal at first is to aim for 720, 730 GMAT, but it's super hard. And very, very few will get there. And if you don't, that's okay. That's cool. It just means the game changed. You apply in a better round, you build a well-rounded profile, you show them that, you speak 3 languages, you've done meaningful internship, you've launched project, sport, extracurriculars, and you got something you need to contribute to the classroom and alumni network. And, this is the truth. And trust me, we help 300 students. That kind of application is way more powerful than, the majority of students think. In most cases, there's always something you can build. There's always a story to shape. There's always an angle you can leverage. You see what I mean? And this is something that I really discuss in the masterclass, in the personal statement story, in the personal story chapter. But yeah, at MinPrep we've helped 300 plus students, like 50 admitted to LBS, 40 to HEC, 12 to HECL. I'm talking about, some people, so including admit to HEC with GMAT score like 630, 640, 650, admit to LBS with 610, 630 GMAT. There's always a way in. If you stop playing small, there's always a way in, And honestly, that's what I love about my job, because I meet so many students who just underestimate themselves, and my role is to tell them, okay, listen, this isn't reserved for intellectuals. This isn't, it's just not for geniuses or finance robot. It's for people who have something to offer, who are ready to, to put in the work, and who can show they are actually serious about building something cool, and that's all that they care about. LBS and HEC, they aren't looking for robot. They're looking for future founders. They're looking for future builders. They're looking for people who actually move the needle. And of course, there's academic indicators like GMAT and GPA, but that's not, the entire story. So yeah, if you stop playing small, that could be you. And yeah. Anyway, hope you liked this video. Do not hesitate to check my other videos and master application on my YouTube channel. And of course, if you want to work directly with our mentors, with me, from HEC, LBS, INSEAD, HEC, and you want to have access to a full methodology and database to make sure you ace your master application to business school, then you can click on the link below, see if you qualify for the MinPrep Masterclass, where you will gain access to a full methodology and database, and you actually apply with the best market information available right now. Anyway, hope you like this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.